Yeah, I do. Breakout rooms are closing in just about 45 seconds. We've got a full house here this morning. We're just kind of settling back in.
I want the whole thing.
Hey Carlos, what's up?
What's going on?
Well, first of all, how are you doing?
Welcome back, online Sangha. I see your smiling faces popping back on. It's a little loud here in the Zendo. Give us just a moment to settle in.
What was the retro? Like, what was the theme?
Well, it's a
Just a friendly reminder to please mute yourself online.
Okay.
and he franchised it
So.
for a lot of it. It's the event here, and it was all your.
Did you have a timer?
Yeah, it's not working.
I have to introduce you to.
I got it. Okay, great. All right, welcome everyone. We are settled and ready. With great excitement that I am so pleased to welcome a dynamic duo this morning. Christine DuSell and Robin Shearer. Christine DuSell is a longtime member serving in several different roles in our Sangha over the years. Most recently, she is the instructor of our current Foundations course as a mindfulness and meditation instructor, and also the co-steward of the Kinship Circle. I'm looking forward to the yummy snacks afterwards. Thanks, Melanie, for bringing. We also have this morning with us then Robin Shearer, also a longtime member as well and very active in our Sangha. Right now she's part of our Earth Steward Circle, Kinship Circle, Poetry Circle. She's also the steward of our Stitching Sutra Circle, which just donated several beautiful blankets to Sarah's Inn. Today they will be talking together on a topic entitled The Power and Richness of Tibetan Slogans. Thank you both for being here.
We need to test whether you can hear both of us. Can you hear me as I'm speaking right now? Thumbs up, okay.
And me? How about me?
Great, perfect, okay. If at any time you can't hear us, please just go ahead and unmute yourself and say, I can't hear. You don't need to put your hand up or anything. Just go ahead and unmute yourself, so. Great. Robin.
Okay, so good morning, everybody. It's so great to be here and to be with you. I'm so excited about this morning. You know, it's kind of like when you have had a great meal in a great restaurant, or you saw a great movie or read a great book, you just want to tell everybody about it. And that's kind of how I feel, and I think Chris does too, about the 59 Tibetan slogans. So on Monday, I had coffee with a friend, and when I told her how excited I was about sharing a recent experience that Chris and I had with the 59 slogans, she asked me to give an example. So I told her one or two of them, and she said to me, well, they're simple, aren't they? And I bristled. You know, it was like, yes. And she said, but not easy. And I said, right. So she really nailed it. They are simple, but they are not easy. They're very challenging. For years, Chris and I have shared books we like. And she introduced me to Norman Fisher's book, which we are going to be talking about a lot this morning. This is the book. It's called Training in Compassion, Zen Teachings on the Practice of Lojong. We love this book. And I understand other people who have read it also love it. It includes 59 Tibetan slogans designed to help train our minds in compassion and resilience. As Fisher says, we're not stuck with our fearful, habitual, self-centered ways of seeing and feeling. So, Chris, since you've read this book numerous times, right?
Yes.
Can you say more about Fisher in the book?
Sure. So I'm sure some of you who have read this, Training in Compassion, are familiar with it. Yeah, right. There's several people here and maybe online too. So let me just say a word about the practice, which is called Lojong, and then I'll say just a few words about Norman Fisher, and then we're going to share with you a practice that we did together. So as Robin just said, Lojong is a contemplative practice in the Tibetan Buddhist tradition, not in Zen, but in the Tibetan Buddhist tradition, which makes use of 59 slogans or sayings, which are used to train our mind and attitudes toward compassion. And the premise is that we can use our problems and difficulties to open up our hearts, to awaken our hearts. The practice was developed in the 11th century, so it's pretty old and it's still around. And it has a few different versions, but they all have the same intent. Norman Fisher, I just want to say a word or two about him because he's so interesting. He's a Soto Zen priest. So he's a Zen priest in our tradition, in the Soto tradition, and he's a retired abbot of the San Francisco Zen Center. He's written several Zen or Zen-inspired books and also books of poetry. And for those of you who are writers, he has an MFA from the Iowa Writing Workshop, so he's the real deal when it comes to writing. He started a bricks and mortar Zen hospice project in 1990 in San Francisco as a way of providing end-of-life care to friends of the San Francisco Zen Center. So that was 1990, so he has a long history of already being involved with compassion. In addition to being a Zen priest, he's considered a practicing Jew and co-founded a Jewish meditation center. He's a big proponent of inter-religious dialogue, saying that it is not only the polite and interesting thing to do, but also essential to the well-being of humanity and the planet. Currently, he guides the Everyday Zen Foundation with a mission of sharing the Zen attitude, spirit, and practice with the world. So that's his formal bio, but just let me say that he is the most engaging, humorous, down-to-earth writer that I feel like I'm sitting down to have coffee with him whenever I pick up a book and read one of his books. So now let me just say a thing about the book. There have been numerous books written about this practice of Lojong, including ones written by Chogyam Trungpa Rinpoche. That is always such a mouthful to get out. Pema Chodron has written a book, B. Allen Wallace, as well as other well-known Tibetan teachers. And so in the intro to the book, Fisher himself says, there are already good books written on the practice, so why another one? And he has 3 reasons. He says, with a nod towards his interreligious interests, he felt bringing a Zen perspective to this Tibetan practice could provide some new insights. He said that Zen's impulse towards common sense simplicity would be useful, since Tibetan Buddhism can be a little more complicated. And third, and I really liked this one, he says that Zen has very little in its formal texts about compassion. It, he says, quote, assumes rather than encourages compassion. So it just assumes that compassion's there, but so it doesn't write about it. And so he felt bringing a Zen perspective to this text about compassion fills an important gap in Zen. And before Robin and I dive into how we work with this practice, let me give you a little flavor of these slogans. They speak to both the relative and absolute realms of our life. And is that okay if I share just a
Yeah,
few of them?
yeah.
I wanted to make sure that that wasn't
Yeah.
somewhere in your part too. So in the absolute realm, a few of the slogans are: examine the nature of awareness. Another one is see everything as a dream. The third one is don't get stuck on peace. That's in the absolute realm. And then in the relative realm, which most of them are focused on the relative realm, here's a few examples that we're not going to talk about, just to give you a sense. Turn all mishaps into the past. Don't figure others out. Don't be so predictable. Practice when you're distracted. Don't make everything so painful. Be patient either way. So you can see they're really witty, bite-sized sayings that we can reflect on. So take it away.
So Diane taught a course, hi Diane, covering the slogans last year during Ongo, and both Chris and I took it. Again, we loved it. So when I signed up for Ongo this year, I felt hungry for the slogans. It just kept coming up over and over for me. So I contacted Chris and asked if she would partner with me during Ongo, and that we would take the slogans, and we decided that we would choose one each week to live into, not just to read about, to live into them during the week. And then at the end of the week, we connected with each other and talked about what we had seen and learned. So we did this over 12 weeks. I'm so attracted to the slogans because they're pithy, straightforward, sometimes confronting, and very in your face. I think they sometimes say, grow up. But they're also funny. They're down to earth and extremely helpful. As Fisher says, they're like bumper stickers or advertising taglines. Slogans are short, punchy phrases that make an immediate impression. They're easy to remember, think about, and stay with. So Chris and I did this for 12 weeks, and I did 12 different ones. Chris did 12, but she repeated a couple. So we just did it the way we wanted to do it during that time. And so now what we want to do is just share with you some of them that each of us chose and what we saw about ourselves, what was revealed in the practice.
I just want to say first that this was a commitment. You know, Robin's always calling me with something that I need to commit to. And I've learned at least to say, let me think about it. Because with Ongo, I was already committing to sitting more. I was already committing to taking classes. And so now this would be, you know, a pretty serious commitment. You know, we talked, once I did commit, just let me tell you, like it wasn't just sort of what I was doing during the week, but we talked for about an hour each Sunday afternoon as we were debriefing how the week had gone. And we each found that this intentional practice with an accountability partner
Yeah.
really brought it alive. I really don't think I would have had the same experience if I had done this on my own. You know, it was really powerful to do with Robin. The discipline of checking in, sharing my experience, and sharing our intention for the following week was super helpful. So with that, let me just share, I'll share one of the slogans that I chose. This is a slogan that I chose 3 times. Don't go so fast. This one just speaks to my life. Don't go so fast. Fisher says, don't go so fast is an invitation to notice our impatience, our silly fixation on perfection and accomplishment, and when we do, to have a good laugh with ourselves about it. He says, becoming a grown, fully developed, wise, and kind human is a long, slow process. It is a large and noble undertaking. There is no point in hurrying it. It really makes no difference how far you get in your lifetime, because no matter how far you get, there will always be farther to go. So I could talk for the remainder of our time about how Go So Fast could be the logo for my life. I remember going fast even as a child. I took great pleasure. I specifically remember this. I must have been 8 years old, maybe 9. Taking great pleasure out of being efficient. I thought I was all that stuff when I figured out I could brush my teeth and straighten the bathroom counter at the same time. I mean, seriously, it sounds ridiculous, but I remember that feeling of pleasure of I can do 2 things at once. I've always had a bit of a driven quality to my life, and I knew this slogan was for me. And as I said, I picked it 3 weeks in a row. What did I notice? Because I was trying to live into this slogan, like how is it affecting me on a day-to-day basis, or where does it show up for me? I noticed not being able to let myself sit down and read during the day if I had unfinished items on my to-do list. I found myself pushing myself to send yet one more email before closing my laptop. I found myself trying to figure out how to fit another commitment into my schedule rather than saying, sorry, it doesn't work for me this time. I noticed I had a vague sense of unworthiness if I wasn't being productive, pushing myself towards some sort of accomplishment. And I realized I was trying to read fast so I could get to the next book rather than enjoying the one I was reading. None of this was new to me. You know, I sort of knew that this was who I was, but having the intention to practice Don't Go So Fast brought a different curiosity to these long-standing patterns. I brought a willingness to choose differently and then to be curious about how I felt. During the weeks I was working with this slogan, I recall being in the car driving somewhere, and my mind was racing with thoughts about what I had to do and how I was going to do it. And then I paused and I said to myself, don't go so fast. It was like taking a breath, taking a needed pause, a moment of mindfulness. Fisher's words that it really makes no difference how far you get in this life gave me a bit of a relief. Oh, I can give myself a break. I'm not sufficient only at some point in the future. I'm enough right now with whatever I get done. When we were debriefing that Sunday together, Robin suggested that maybe I add another slogan. There is enough time for everything. I don't know if you remember that. So I started using that too. And it has been immensely helpful. When the anxiety of a too full plate emerges, I repeat these 2 slogans to myself. Don't go so fast. There's enough time for everything. And I'm stabilized. I'm unhooked from sort of that drivenness. And I think the last thing I want to just say about this is, you know, the slogan, you could read it as, don't go so fast, right? But the way it emerges for me is, sweetie, don't go so fast. It's a really loving voice that's encouraging me to slow down and enjoy your day.
Chris is so great. So the one I chose to start with was rest. No, it's not actually the first one, but one I chose to share today is rest in the openness of mind. Fisher urges us to let go, to trust our life. We don't need to figure everything out. He urges us to trust our bodies because they know what to do, to relax and let them guide us. So my example is occurred around Thanksgiving week, and my niece and great-nephews and a great-nephew's wife were coming to visit Earl and me. And I had this whole picture in my mind of how it would be. You know, we would have them over to the house and we would serve meals, and she and I would take some time alone, and we would go upstairs and I'd show her some pictures of the family, and I thought she'd enjoy all that. And I had this all in my mind about how it would be. Well, they arrived, and we had dinner and everything the first night, and then my niece announced that they would be staying in the VRBO here in Oak Park where they were staying, and we should come over the next day there to watch football with them. And if you know my husband Earl, you know he's crazy about football. So I thought, okay, that's great. And I had my one nephew is just nutty about football and sports. So that works out well. The two of them can watch it. But my niece also loves football. So there were like 3 of them, and they wanted to do it there at the VRBO, which it was a lovely VRBO, but it really wasn't very comfortable for me. Like, there wasn't a good place to sit, and I would plan, well, okay, I'll knit during the time that they're doing this, you know, that'd be fine. But then I'd have to lug everything over there and stuff. So I was just really upset, and she wasn't gonna spend the time with me to look at the pictures and everything. So I got really upset about it. And when I'm upset with people I love, I just always want to fix it right away. I just can't stand that disruption in our relationship, and I just want to get it fixed. But this time, I just stopped, and I thought about just resting in the openness of mind. And I let it go, and I thought, okay, we'll see what happens the next day. Wouldn't you know, she got on the phone and called me and said, you know, it's not very good over here. You know, the seats aren't really good, and it's not, we'd like to come over to your place. Fine, that's good, you know. And the other thing that so, you know, I could just feel my whole body just relax. And of course, the other thing that happened is I brought her in to look at the pictures and stuff, and she went, and that was it. You know, I thought she'd say, oh, look at, remember when? None of that. Okay, just let it go, right? So when I meditate, I often say to myself, rest in the openness of mind. It's beautiful, isn't it?
Yeah, there's a lot of that 3 tenets not knowing
Yes.
in that slogan.
Yes.
Is really reminding us that we don't know everything, and that the stories we create, the expectations that we set for ourselves can really set us up for disappointment. Whereas resting in the openness of mind is open. So, yeah, that's wonderful. Thank you. Okay, one more from me. Be grateful to everyone. Be grateful to everyone. You know, it doesn't say, at least the way I guess in another version it just says, thank everyone. And for me, the fact that it doesn't say be grateful for everyone, I don't know why, but it's subtly different. It's more, be grateful to everyone somehow is more active to me. And I know that an attitude of gratitude is so healing. I know that. But I don't always practice it. So I took this slogan in a particular way, reading into it that it was asking me to be grateful even to those people in my life who are challenging. You know how, when I just said that, what occurred to me is we never say for the people in my life for whom I'm challenging. Right? Years ago, I was in therapy, and I remember the therapist asking me about a person I was in a relationship with, what's he up against? And I literally couldn't get what he was talking about. But come on, we usually are thinking that other people in our lives are a problem, but we're a challenge to them. We're a challenge to them. Anyway, that was a sidebar I didn't expect to float up, but others will always show us exactly where we're stuck. They say or do something, and we get automatically hooked into a familiar way of reacting, shutting down, speeding up, or getting all worked up. So remembering the basic premise of Lojong, that we can use our problems and difficulties to awaken our hearts, I wanted to work on remembering this slogan in the moment, not later, afterwards, after the situation, but in the moment. Could I bring this to mind and have it help me be more skillful in the moment? During the week I was practicing this slogan, I remember being on the phone with a customer service rep. Need I say more? Right? I was not making any progress. I think this was related to some technology thing too, which makes it even worse. And I could feel my chest start to tighten as I was on the phone. I was creating a story in my head about how ignorant this person was and how they weren't listening. Then the slogan floated into my mind. Be grateful to everyone. I remember sitting in a doctor's office with my mom that week and the medical assistant not being attuned at all to how you talk with an elderly person. She was talking loud and at the speed of light and was completely oblivious to the fact that my mother wasn't processing the information. I was barely processing the information. I mean, truly, the younger generations talk at a speed that is hard for me to follow. And once again, I could feel myself being activated. For me, it's usually my chest that is my giveaway. If I pay attention to my chest, I know when I'm getting activated. And once again, the slogan bubbled up into my mind. Be grateful to everyone. And closer to home, gets harder and harder the closer you get to people that you're in relationship with. Remembering this slogan when my husband and I were not seeing eye to eye. So I was remembering this in the moment, not intellectually at a later time. It's harder to do, but it's really powerful. Be grateful not simply when interactions with others are smooth, but when they are difficult. Can I tell you how settling this is? How opening it is? To shift your mind to goodwill is really amazing in the moment. To approach challenges from an open and generous heart and mind rather than the tightness, it really made a difference for me. It doesn't matter that the customer service rep maybe was ignorant, maybe wasn't listening. When I maintain my serenity, then that's what I bring to an interaction. And so I can move through challenges more quickly, more skillfully. This not only leaves me feeling better, literally, because we don't feel good when we go off. We're left with kind of a yuck. It left me feeling better, but it also helps me carry my bodhisattva vows. Fisher says, if you feel grateful for what is possible for you in this moment, no matter what your challenges are, grateful first that you are alive at all, that you can think, you can feel, you can stand, sit, walk, talk. If you feel grateful, you are happy and you maximize your chances for well-being and for sharing happiness with others. So that was my be grateful to everyone.
You know, I didn't realize that we both chose that one,
Oh,
you know, for today. And so I think I'll go ahead and do it.
Yes.
Anyway, to just give you some perspective on like how different reactions can be. So I was driving and I kept thinking about this, be grateful to everyone. And the thing is that Fisher is a poet, so he chooses every word carefully. You know, poets pay attention to every single word. So I kept saying to myself, to everyone. It wasn't like for everyone. And all of a sudden, my mind and my heart just opened up as I was driving. And I had this experience of being so grateful to family, friends, and most of whom are gone now. So I got thinking, I was so grateful to my brother Ben. I think I can get through this list without crying. Mary Los Taracos, Sally Stovall, Mary Fisher, who was the first person I hired in my business, and she just believed in me. All the people who helped Earl and me when Earl had his heart surgery this year, a gay couple, Bob and Tim, who I lived with for a while when I was getting sober 44 years ago, and knew it wasn't safe for me to be alone. I was just filled with gratitude. And you know, it's so visceral, like my whole body just felt suffused with gratitude. So I just wanted to read a little more of the quotes by him that I thought were so great. Without the myriad circumstances that provided us the opportunities for education, for speech, for knowledge, for work, we wouldn't be here as we are. And without all the people in our lives whom we know and who know us and love us and create complications for us and infuriate us, we would have nothing to think about. We would be very bored, more than bored. Without others, our consciousness would be shattered by loneliness. Our consciousness of ourselves is never independent of others. That is what non-self or emptiness means in Buddha teaching, that there is no such thing as an isolated individual. Literally, every thought in our minds, every emotion that we feel, every word that comes out of our mouth, every material sustenance that we need to get through the day comes through the kindness of and the interaction with others. And not only other people, but non-humans too. Literally, the whole of the earth, the soil, the sky, the trees, the air we breathe, the water we drink. We not only depend on all of this, we are all of it, and it is us.
That's beautiful. That's really beautiful. Robin, were you also going to do one more?
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'll do another? No?
Go ahead.
Okay. All right, this is probably my favorite of these. Do good, avoid evil. Appreciate your lunacy, pray for help. So, by doing good, what Fisher points to is small things. Oh, I'm getting the thumbs up, okay. By doing good, what Fisher points to is small things, and I really like it because it's not like we have to do these enormous big things. Like wishing somebody a happy birthday, or smiling, or giving somebody a compliment. I love to just surprise a stranger on the street every now and then, and I say something like, "Great hat, I love your hat," you know, or something like that. I just love to do it. And people, you know, they're walking and they're looking very serious and everything, and they just stop and their face beams and they smile. You know, so he's talking about things like that. He includes meditating as doing good, studying, and contributing to support our Zen Center as part of the way of being good. Avoiding evil can include small things too that are harmful or unkind or just mean-spirited, like a lot of our politics today. It strikes me as just mean-spirited. But it also can include gossip. And as Chris referenced in the recent talk, immediately jumping to the least generous interpretation of someone's behavior. So I wanted to read a quote about lunacy. Oh, boy. All right, let's see.
I'm looking over Robin's shoulder, and almost everything is underlined in her book.
It's true, and then I have stars next to some of them. It's true. Bow to your own weakness, your own craziness, your own resistance. Congratulate yourself for them. Appreciate them. Truly, it is a marvel, the extent to which we are selfish, confused, lazy, resentful, and so on. We come by these things honestly. We have been well trained to manifest them at every turn. This is the prodigy of human life bursting forth at its seams. It is the effect of our upbringing, our society, which we appreciate even as we are trying to tame it and bring it gently round to the good. So we make offerings to the demons inside us. We develop a sense of humorous appreciation for our own stupidity. We are in good company. We can laugh at ourselves and everyone else. So, you know, many of you know that I'm a knitter, that I love knitting, and I've been knitting blankets and baby blankets and things like that. But I also was asked to knit a hat for the auction. And our auction here at the center, it's one of the ways we raise money. So it's selling things. So I hadn't knit a hat in a very long time. And I started on a pattern that I found to be very difficult. And I kept making mistakes with it. So I would tear it out. I'm usually immensely patient with knitting. I don't know why, but I just am. I'm totally okay with tearing things out. But I could not figure this out, and I would keep working on it, and then I'd have to tear it out, keep working on it and have to, oh, it was terrible. So then I thought I had finally finished it, and it was done, and I had figured it out, and I held it up and I looked at it, and there were drop stitches everywhere. I just felt berserk. I was a lunatic about it. I was so upset because I had a deadline. I had to get these things to June at a particular time for the auction and everything. And I finally just said, okay, this is insane. So I tore out the entire thing. I put it aside. I looked for a new pattern. I found one I liked, even better, and in 3 days it was done. But I'm telling you, in the middle of that, when you're a lunatic, you're a lunatic. You know, I mean, it really is that kind of lunacy. So, okay, so that's the appreciate your lunacy. With his avoiding evil, oh, I mentioned that it can be all those small things. Okay, last part, pray for help. I thought that was very interesting. And he has some interesting comments about Buddhists and prayer. Prayer is a powerful practice. It is not a matter of abrogating our own responsibility. We are not asking to be absolved of the need to act. We are asking for help and for strength to do what we know we must do, with the understanding that though we must do our best, whatever goodness comes our way is not our accomplishment, our personal production. It comes from a wider sphere than we can control. So not only does it make sense to pray for help, not only does it feel powerfully right and good to do so, it is important to do this so that we remember we are not alone and we can't do it by ourselves. People often say that Buddhists don't pray because Buddhism is an atheistic or non-theistic tradition that doesn't recognize God or a supreme being. This may be technically so, but the truth is Buddhists pray and have always prayed. They pray to a whole panoply of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. Even Zen Buddhists pray. Praying does not require a belief in God or gods. Do good, avoid evil, appreciate your own lunacy, and pray for help. Simple, everyday instructions.
So that's just a few examples of how we use these, but we did this, as we said, for 12 weeks. And Norman Fisher in his book gives some instruction for how you can do it if it's on your own. I mean, he says, you know, work with it on the cushion, choose a slogan, write it on a 3x5 card, put it on your refrigerator, put a Post-it note on your laptop, put it on your bathroom mirror so it's there for you. You can sit down and write a few paragraphs on it yourself. Talk about it with friends, as we did for 12 weeks. Repeat it to yourself throughout the day. You can stay with one slogan for a day, for a week, for a month, for however long it works for you. You can come back to the same slogan years later and it will unfold something different for you. Just like anything else on our spiritual path, this kind of mind training, this kind of practice requires commitment, repetition, and patience. We have to have an intention to stick with it. I found the way Robin and I worked with the slogans to be really engaging, very powerful for me. Rich, and dare I say, fun.
It really was.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we couldn't stop there, so we approached Diane and asked her if she would possibly offer another course in the mind practice. And we're excited to say that she has agreed to do it and that it will probably be this summer. Right, Diane? Do you want to
Yes,
say?
thank you both. This summer, I've asked Roshi to look at the calendar, which he has, and I'm just so inspired by your practical application of such an ancient, beautiful practice that when Robin approached me to consider teaching another course and to do it with the same sort of energy and commitment that Chris and Robin have done, I was just delighted and very honored, quite honestly. The two of you inspire me so much. So this summer, we'll do another course. We'll have some of the underpinnings of what Lojong's about, so you have some of the framework of it, but I'd really like to rely on their supreme good hearts and example of being engaged and breathing life into it. So yeah, stay tuned, but it'll definitely happen this summer for probably 8 weeks. Still kind of working through the format, but thank you thank you for making the ask. Happy to do it.
That's really exciting.
Yeah.
So we have some books. The center has some books.
Few books,
They're
yeah.
over there. And Kelly can help you if you want to purchase one. We urge you to not wait till the summer, to come in the summer, be part of this in the summer, but don't wait because it's 59, slogans. So we'll never cover them all, in the period of time. So, buy a book, get a partner, get a friend, enroll somebody in it to work with you. That's what we'd highly recommend, or do it by yourself, but it's a lot more fun and interesting and intimate to do it with a friend also. Let's see if there's anything else. Oh, in closing, a last quote from Fisher. If we are now facing hard times, as human beings always have, much better to face them with patient, compassionate hearts than with fear and panic. So as he suggests, resolve to begin. And as our final
Slogan.
closing, we give you the 59th. Don't expect applause.
So if there's any, we've got a few minutes, so if there's any comments or questions, happy to entertain them.
Those online, feel free just to unmute and hop in. Anyone here in this endo, I'm happy to pass the mic. Yeah, up here.
I just love this. Thank you so much. It's really helpful.
I echo what Dov just said. I just love this too. You guys are wonderful. It occurred to me, and I'd never thought about this before, that these are the Tibetan version of doing koan work. You live with them. Wow, it was really a wonderful awareness that I had. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Just living with it.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Over here. Coming across.
Thank you so much. It's amazing and inspiring. So there is an app. It just it asks you to set an intention for the day. Before even knowing this, in a way I was trying to do it. So I would write, observe ego and fear throughout the day. So I try to kind of at work, when I go on through those peaks and valleys, try to remember. I couldn't remember throughout the day, but it's not. But I know that heat of that moment, it's really difficult. The other day at work, we had an issue. Something went wrong, unexpected, and everybody got heated up, and I had both. I had both anger and fear at the same time. So, and I got worked up. I couldn't let it go until the evening. Then I remembered, oh, so how do you maybe it's tough for everyone. That's just, I'm thinking like, how do we get better at that moment, trying to remember that? It's probably takes a lot of years of work, but.
Yeah, I wish I had some magic pill for that. I don't. I don't. It's just practice. And for me, the biggest thing is, it sounds like you're already recognizing it. That's huge. Just to recognize it is huge. Because then we can at least pause. And when we pause, we give ourselves the space to maybe make a more skillful choice. You know, remember that we're never going to get rid of our emotions. We're never going to get rid of the immediate feelings that come up. What we're trying to do is work with them more skillfully. You know, we're trying to approach them from a more generous heart. And so maybe, I mean, it sounds to me like you're already halfway there by just recognizing and maybe not going with the energy, but trying to put a pause in there. But it's hard. It takes a lot of practice. I am definitely not perfect.
Yeah, I would agree. And I just would add that sometimes what is very helpful to me is to then have a conversation with somebody about it, you know, who is not going to feed into the anger and the fear, but somebody you know who will listen in a way where they really get you and really hear what it is you're feeling. And at least for me, I can often work things out when I talk it out with somebody.
Hi, it's Ellen online. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can, Ellen. Hi.
Yes. Hi. Thank you so much. This was so wonderful. Very inspiring. I love that the two of you partnered and made this happen. And it is a true honoring of learning by doing, which is my go-to, right? The best way I think to learn is take a little bite and go do it. And you did it for a week and then you talked about it. It's the best model for me of learning. And my suggestion was going to be, can we do this as a group? Can we have a class? So I'm so excited to hear that will be happening. Thank you. Yeah. And I just want to share an experience I had this past week. And I'm not sure which of the 59 slogans it falls into, perhaps the rest in the openness of mind, but I traveled to California to be with my mother on the anniversary of my father's passing, which was a year ago. And I had all these ideas of things that she might want to do to honor the day. And things like, do you want to watch the funeral again? And she's like, no. I remember every moment of that. Don't need to do that. Or do you want to listen to some of his favorite music? Or could we talk about memories? And she had nothing, not interested at all. And we were going out for dinner that evening and the friends that were going with us canceled. And I saw how sad she was. And she said, let's just cancel the reservation. So I thought, I'm thinking, what can we do? And then she said, you know what? Let's go out to his favorite Mexican restaurant, this little dive. And I didn't see that coming. I hadn't had any thought about that. And we went, and she didn't want to talk about him the entire day, but at that meal, she shared all of their trips to Mexico and other places that they had gone. So I realized just honoring her, being open to whatever was going to happen was truly the best way to honor, him and my mother during that day. So thank you for sharing that rest in the openness of mind, because I think that that was part of it.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Ellen.
Thank you.
And whatever happens is the path.
Whatever happens is the path, yeah. Gary.
Thank you both for the wonderful presentation. Because I was paying really close attention when you started talking about being grateful to, be grateful for, and I would toss into respect for love. There was a time right as you drive to Chicago on Bay Street, underneath the L tracks a lot. And a lot of people said there had a lot of trucks, including some 40-footers that were fixed. So I started watching. There we go. And so this big 40-foot truck is trying to park and all that and being impatient, and everybody's impatient and people are honking their horns. But then one day it dawned on me, it's going to take this guy about 2 minutes to manipulate that truck into a warehouse, and that's a real skill. And that truck probably has something in it that they're going to be delivered, and it's going to be delivered to somebody else because they want it. So after that, I thought, you know what? What's 2 minutes?
Yeah, yeah.
That is definitely living in to be grateful to everyone. That's a great example. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. One more?
One more over here.
We have one more and then we'll close.
So Robin was talking about having a conversation with someone when you're in the midst of upset. Well, she and I are married, so I'm often I'm often the one that is in this other the conversation is with. And I read and heard somewhere that men are always trying to fix things. Women have problems, and men right away jump in and say, "Oh, you just do this, you just do that."
Sounds right.
And I found that that's not the answer.
It's not what we're looking for.
That doesn't work. So I think when you have a conversation, you want to let off steam. I don't know. I often think maybe stand in the mirror, maybe and talk to that person.
Advice,
Yes. How to fix it.
It's true. Your point is a good one. It's important to select the person who you want to process with. Because that's what women do. We process.
Yeah.
Men fix. In a broad generalization.
You're funny. Isn't it funny?
Yeah. Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, everybody. It was
Thank you all for being here.
for those of you in the room, please join us for coffee and treats in the community room. Everybody online, have a wonderful day. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for being here, online Sangha. Have a beautiful Sunday. Love you all.
That was fun, huh?
Yes.
Wasn't that fun? And people
was great
loved
fun.
it. People loved it.
Yeah, it was great fun. Oh.
I think you're funny, Earl. Isn't he funny?
Yeah, I've